Princess Aelira of the Lumerian Star Dynasty had not slept for 73 nights, a number so terrifying for her species that even the palace healers whispered about it in trembling voices. Lumerians were beings of shimmering light and crystalline veins, born from the cosmic storms that raged around the blue giant stars Atheris. For them, sleep was not a simple rest. It was a sacred ritual, a recalibration of their internal starlight. Without it, their luminous bodies began to dim, their thoughts slowed, and their hearts flickered like dying embers. Aelira, once the brightest among her people, had lost nearly half her glow. Her silver aura, once radiant enough to illuminate palace halls, had faded into a faint bluish shimmer barely visible in the dark. The palace had tried everything: celestial lullabies sung by starlight choirs, healing crystals harvested from nebula reefs, even the rare dream-bloom nectar that usually lulled Lumerian infants into peaceful slumber. But her mind remained restless, stormy, trapped in a loop of silent exhaustion. Every night she lay on her levitating moon cushion, eyes open, watching the star winds swirl outside her chamber's transparent walls. The cause of her sleeplessness was a mystery until her mother, Queen Seraphel, received a strange prophecy from the ancient oracle. Only the heart of a grounded soul can steady the storm. Within the child of a light, no one understood its meaning. But the oracle's prophecies were never wrong, and thus began the strangest decision in Lumerian history: sending royal emissaries across the galaxy to search for a human, a creature known for its fragile body yet unbelievably resilient heart. The search brought them to Earth, a planet the Lumerians rarely visited, because its atmosphere felt too heavy for their airy bodies. After weeks of analyzing thousands of human emotional profiles, the emissaries found something extraordinary: a human man whose neurological patterns matched the oracle's enigmatic description. His name was Eamon Hale, a quiet mechanic from a small coastal town who lived alone in a wooden cabin overlooking the sea. Eamon was ordinary by every external measure: brown hair, kind but tired eyes, hands roughened by years of fixing boats. Yet inside his mind existed something rare, an emotional gravity, a calming presence that science could not measure but other beings could feel. When Aelira first saw him through the holographic vision screen, she felt an unfamiliar pull in her chest, as if her starlight recognized him even before she did. The queen, desperate to save her daughter, ordered Eamon gently taken aboard, not forcefully, but with an invitation so heartfelt and earnest that even he, a skeptic of anything mystical, felt compelled to follow. As the ship rose through Earth's atmosphere, Eamon watched the clouds fall away beneath him, stunned but oddly peaceful. He was told only that he was needed, that someone's life depended on the calm inside his heart.
He had no idea that on a distant world of luminous beings,
a princess with dimming light awaited him like a drowning traveler reaching for the last fragment of hope. When Eamon arrived at the Lumerian palace, he expected grandeur, but nothing prepared him for the surreal beauty of it. The palace floated on a platform of crystallized stardust, surrounded by rings of floating gardens whose leaves shimmered like liquid moonlight. Everything felt weightless yet solid, dreamlike yet tangibly real. The royal healers guided him through the halls until they reached Aelira's chamber, where the dim glow of the princess made the room feel colder than it should. Aelira lay motionless, her breathing slow, her aura flickering like a candle struggling to stay alive. Eamon approached hesitantly, unsure what a simple human like him could possibly do. But the moment she sensed his presence, her crystalline eyelids fluttered open, and for the first time in 73 nights, the chaos in her mind quieted. She didn't know how to speak his language, yet a silent resonance passed between them, his heartbeat and her starlight syncing, in a rhythm that felt impossibly natural. The healers gasped as her glow brightened by the faintest margin. Eamon simply sat beside her, unsure and overwhelmed, but something in his steady breathing soothed her. Without understanding how or why, Aelira reached out, her luminous fingers trembling, and Eamon gently took her hand. The chamber sensors spiked instantly, her neural storm calming, her energy threads stabilizing. It was as if his presence anchored her drifting mind, grounding her spiraling thoughts with a quiet strength she had never felt before. And for the first time, true hope filled the palace. Over the next several nights, Eamon was instructed to stay close to Aelira, not through force but because she visibly stabilized whenever he was near. He told her stories of Earth, of rain tapping on rooftops, of warm morning sunlight, of sea waves crashing against the shore. These simple human experiences fascinated her, soothing her thoughts like gentle gravity pulling scattered stars into orbit. Illyra in turn taught him about Lemurian starlight, explaining through gestures and faint telepathic impressions how her kind breathed energy from cosmic winds and how sleep allowed their light cores to realign. One evening, as he described the ocean at night, Illyra's glow softened to a peaceful hue, silver, mixed with pale blue, and the healers whispered in awe. She was entering the pre-sleep phase. But just as she drifted, her starlight flickered violently, jarred by a spike of fear. She clutched Amon's wrist tightly. The chamber shook slightly as unstable energy crackled around her. Amon didn't understand what was wrong, but instinctively he placed his hand over hers, leaning close and speaking in the calmest voice he could muster. He described the sound of distant waves again, the scent of salt, the warmth of a campfire. Illyra's trembling eased. The crackling faded. The chamber stabilized. The healers stared in disbelief. No one had ever calmed a Lemurian this way. Amon didn't know it yet, but Illyra had begun to associate his voice with safety, his presence with serenity, and deep inside her fading light core, something ancient and instinctive awakened, a bond her species had only ever experienced in myth. By the 10th night, Illyra could sit up, her glow returning slowly like dawn breaking over a long starless horizon. She communicated better now, her telepathic pulses forming clearer images, soft waves, warm light, the feeling of being held steady in a storm. Every image she sent was of him. Amon, though overwhelmed, treated her gently, never claiming ownership of her recovery. He saw her strength beneath her fragility, her determination beneath exhaustion. The queen watched from afar, marveling at the strange miracle, a human grounding an alien princess's collapsing starlight. But Illyra's sleep had not yet come. The healers said she was close, but something still held her back. A last emotional barrier, a fear that only she understood. That evening, as Amon prepared to leave her chamber so she could attempt rest, Illyra reached out and gently held his arm. Her voice appeared directly in his mind for the first time, soft but trembling. "Stay. Please." Amon turned, startled. He saw fear in her glowing eyes. Not fear of him, but fear of losing the calm he brought. So he stayed. A chair materialized beside her moon cushion, and he sat, leaning back, letting the stillness settle between them. Illyra shifted closer, her aura settling into a soft, drowsy hue, and for the first time she closed her eyes willingly. Her breathing slowed. Her fingers relaxed. Her glow dimmed not with weakness but with peace. She hovered at the edge of sleep, closer than she had been in 73 nights. Night 74 began with a stillness no one had felt before. The palace corridors, usually shimmering with shifting starlight, seemed to hold their breath as Amon sat beside Illyra, watching her drift near sleep. Her face, sculpted from soft luminescence, looked more at peace than ever, yet there remained a faint tension around her glowing eyes. He sensed it, something deeper holding her back. As the healing crystals dimmed to night cycle mode, Illyra's aura pulsed faintly, responding to the quiet rhythm of Amon's heartbeat. The healers had left the chamber. The queen had ordered silence, and the galaxy outside the transparent walls spun gently, like a lullaby written in stars. Amon wasn't used to being the center of so much attention, but alone here with her, that pressure faded. All he saw was someone tired, someone lonely, someone who just needed rest. After a long silence, Illyra finally spoke again through her soft telepathic whisper. "I am afraid, if I sleep, I might not wake." Her words struck Amon like a cold wind. He moved his chair closer. He didn't know anything about cosmic biology or starlight anatomy, but he knew fear, so he told her something simple, something profoundly human. "You're not alone. I'll be right here. When you wake up, the first face you'll see is mine." Something in those words, so small, so earthly, made her aura warm and bright. Her breath steadied. Her fingers relaxed. The storm inside her dimmed. She leaned slightly toward him, as if trusting his voice more than her own light. For the first time, she allowed her mind to drift into the fragile borderland between wakefulness and dreams. It wasn't sleep yet, but it was closer than ever. The following night, the palace healers prepared a ritual chamber to gently guide Illyra into full starlight alignment. They placed energy conduits around her moon cushion, forming a glowing ring that pulsed in harmony with the star outside. But when the ritual began, something unexpected happened. The conduits reacted to Aemon instead of Aelira. The readings shifted violently, the circuits bending their rhythm to match his human heartbeat. Shocked, the healers halted the process. His presence is altering the starlight resonance, one whispered. He is stabilizing her core directly, something no being has ever done. Aelira opened her eyes and saw Aemon standing there confused, slightly overwhelmed. A faint smile touched her luminous lips. Your heart. It reaches me, she whispered. Aemon felt heat rise to his cheeks, not from embarrassment, but from a strange, stirring bond he didn't fully understand. The queen entered then, her towering form casting waves of silver light. She bowed her head, a gesture never shown to any outsider. Human Aemon, she said, you are no longer a guest. You are now the anchor of the princess. Aemon swallowed hard. He had expected to help, not become part of the princess's life in such a profound way. Aelira looked at him with a mixture of hope and vulnerability. She extended her hand, asking him silently to sit beside her again. He did, and instantly the ritual chamber softened. The conduits steadied. The palace seemed to exhale. Aelira's glow increased, not chaotically, but gently, like a sunrise blooming inside her. She leaned her head slightly toward him, and the healers exchanged astonished glances. They were witnessing something beyond science and emotional resonance that crossed species, energy systems, and worlds. And for Aelira, it felt like the first time she wasn't drifting alone in the endless starlight. That night, the world outside Aelira's chamber changed. A solar storm approached the planet, an immense wave of magnetic turbulence from their blue giant star. Normally, Lumerians handled such storms easily, but Aelira's unstable light core made her vulnerable. When the first tremor hit, the palace shield flickered. The starlight winds howled around the crystalline walls, shaking the floating platforms. Aelira gasped as her aura spasmed uncontrollably. The solar interference sent painful pulses through her body, each one dimming her light further. The healers rushed in, but the readings plummeted too fast. Her core is destabilizing. She cannot survive the storm in this state, one shouted. Aemon didn't wait, didn't think. He simply moved to her side, taking her trembling hands in his. The moment their skin touched, her wild, unstable light flux latched onto him like a drowning person clinging to a lifeline. Her breathing slowed. Her aura steadied. The readings on the monitors stopped falling. But Aemon felt a deep pull inside him, like something was draining his strength. Not painfully, but heavily, as if her light core was borrowing stability directly from his heartbeat. Aemon, stop, it is dangerous for a human, a healer warned. But Aelira's grip tightened, fear shining in her dimming eyes. Please, do not let go. Her silent plea cut through the noise of the storm. Aemon ignored the warnings. He held her hands firmly, anchoring her trembling core with everything he had. Slowly, painfully, her glow stabilized. The solar storm raged on outside, but inside the chamber, a fragile calm formed around them, held together by the quiet, unwavering presence of a human man who refused to let an alien princess face the darkness alone. When the solar storm finally weakened, the palace exhaled a sigh of relief, but Aemon felt drained, as though hours of holding Aelira's hands had pulled something vital from him. Yet he didn't regret a moment of it. Aelira, her glow now steady but faint, looked at him with a depth of gratitude he had never seen in any being, human or alien. She lifted a trembling hand and placed it gently against his chest, feeling the tired but steady rhythm beneath. You shared your strength. Your life-light, she whispered telepathically, her voice soft as drifting stardust. Aemon smiled weakly. You'd do the same for me. She blinked, clearly touched by the simplicity and sincerity of the human heart. The queen arrived soon after, rushing in with visible concern. When she saw her daughter alive, stabilized, breathing, glowing, she touched her forehead to Aelira's in relief. Then she turned to Aemon, and her expression softened into something almost reverent. Your presence does not merely calm her, she said quietly. You are reshaping the flow of her energy. This bond is rare, ancient, thought impossible. But Aemon wasn't thinking about ancient legends or cosmic bonds. He simply saw a girl who had suffered for too long, whose strength had been swallowed by fear, and who now trusted him in a way that felt sacred. Aelira, recovering, leaned closer until her aura brushed against his arm. A soft, warm glow that felt like moonlight resting on skin. "Stay," she asked again, but this time her voice carried not fear, but comfort, a desire for closeness. Eamon nodded without hesitation, and as the storm passed and the palace returned to calm, Illyra closed her eyes, not in sleep, but in a fragile sense of safety that had grown between them like a new star forming in darkness. The next day, Illyra was strong enough to walk outside her chamber, though she insisted Eamon stay near her side. They moved slowly through the floating gardens where crystalline flowers hummed in soft melodies, their petals reacting to her returning light. Every few steps, Illyra would pause, touching a flower or hovering her hand over a stream of drifting water as though rediscovering sensations. She had been too exhausted to enjoy for months. Eamon watched her with a quiet smile. She had the grace of a being woven from light, yet there was a gentle curiosity in her, movements almost childlike, like someone awakening from a long illness and seeing color for the first time. Illyra turned her glowing eyes toward him. "Humans live grounded, tied to their world," she said softly. "But inside you, Eamon, your heart moves like starlight, calm, warm, infinite." He chuckled awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck. "I think you're giving me too much credit." She shook her head, and for a moment her glow brightened, casting gentle waves across the garden. "No, you are the first being whose presence silenced my storms," a healer observing from afar whispered to another. "Her bond has deepened. Look, her glow reacts more to him than to the star winds." As they walked further, Illyra suddenly paused at the edge of a floating balcony. The galaxy stretched before them, ribbons of purple nebulae, swirling star clusters, glowing celestial dust. She turned to Eamon, her voice soft with wonder. "Do humans ever feel small beneath the universe?" Eamon leaned on the railing. "All the time, but sometimes the right person makes the universe feel less lonely." Illyra's glow warmed, and in that tranquil moment, surrounded by a billion stars, she realized something profound. For the first time in her life, she no longer feared the dark. That evening, the Queen summoned the palace council to discuss Illyra's condition. Eamon was invited not as an outsider but as a vital part of the discussion. The council chamber, a grand circular hall carved from cosmic crystal, pulsed with slow waves of color reflecting the emotions of those inside. When Illyra entered with Eamon beside her, the chamber brightened as if recognizing her return to strength. The Queen raised her luminous staff. "My daughter stands here alive because of the human." The oracle's prophecy was true. An elder healer stepped forward, holding a crystalline tablet filled with fluctuating readings. "Her neural storms quiet only when he is near. Her light core aligns itself to his emotional field. This is more than healing. It is resonance." Some council members murmured, nervously. Cross-species resonance was myth, a phenomenon mentioned only in ancient Lemurian epics. One of the elders spoke sharply. "Such bonds are dangerous. If her light depends on him, what happens if he grows weak? Or if the human dies?" Illyra stepped forward, her glow steady and noble. "I do not draw life from him. I draw calm, peace, the grounding I lacked. His presence does not replace my strength. It helps me remember it." Eamon felt a swell of warmth in his chest. She spoke with such conviction, such honesty, that even the council fell silent. The Queen looked at him gently. "Human Eamon, do you accept this bond? It may shape both your futures in ways you cannot foresee." Eamon met Illyra's eyes, glowing softly like a sunrise seen through crystal, and he felt the choice settle naturally in his heart. "Yes," he said quietly. "I'll stay as long as she needs me." Illyra's glow brightened, not in surprise, but in relief. The Queen bowed her head deeply. "Then tonight," she said, "we prepare for the final alignment. If her light harmonizes with your presence, she will sleep and awaken renewed." The council, though shaken, agreed, and as Illyra and Eamon left the chamber together, she reached out hesitantly and intertwined her luminous fingers with his. For the first time, Eamon felt her touch, not trembling, not desperate, but peaceful. The final alignment was prepared in the celestial sanctum, an ancient chamber, located at the very heart of the palace, where the walls were made of pure crystallized nebula light. Only those undergoing sacred transitions were allowed to enter. Tonight it belonged to Illyra, and the human who had become her anchor. The floor glowed in vast circular patterns, each symbol representing flow, harmony, trust, and renewal. A soft wind, though no air truly moved, swept across the hall as if the stars themselves had come to witness this moment. Illyra stood in the center of the circle, her glow faint but steady, far steadier than the nights before. Eamon approached slowly, unsure of the ritual's details but certain of why he was here. When he reached her, Illyra extended her hand silently. He took it. Instantly the chamber brightened, reacting to the connection between them. The queen raised her staff and spoke. Tonight, the princess seeks restoration of her starlight, but the path opens only if her heart is calm found through the bond she has chosen. Illyra gazed up at Eamon, her silver-blue aura warm like moon-kissed water. Through their joined hands, she whispered in his mind, "You do not need to guide me. Just be here. Your presence is enough." The glyphs on the floor began to move, swirling around them like rings of drifting galaxies. A soft hum filled the air, vibrating gently through Eamon's chest. Illyra closed her eyes as beams of starlight descended upon her, weaving through her veins, realigning her energy threads. But each fluctuation still caused small tremors, tiny storms inside her that tried to pull her away. Whenever her glow wavered, Eamon tightened his grip just slightly. Nothing forceful, just grounding. Human warmth, human steadiness. And with each pulse of his heart, her storm softened. The sanctum reacted brilliantly, as though the universe approved of this fragile, beautiful bond. Halfway through the ritual, the starlight intensified. Illyra's aura surged, flickered, then surged again like oceans colliding in the sky. The healers gasped as energy readings spiked and spiraled unpredictably. "Her core is resisting full alignment," one cried. "She is afraid to release control." But Illyra stood motionless, trembling, her glow shifting between steady brightness and chaotic flashes. Inside her mind, fear whispered the same haunting thought. What if I sleep and never return? What if the darkness swallows me? Eamon sensed her panic even before her aura flickered violently. He stepped closer, lifting his free hand to gently touch her cheek. A gesture so human, so simple, yet so grounding that her entire body stilled at once. "Illyra," he whispered, his voice soft but firm. "I'm right here. You're not falling into darkness. You're resting. And when you wake up, I'll be here. I promise." His words cut through the storm inside her like sunlight splitting heavy clouds. Her glow steadied, warmth rippling through her once more. She leaned into his touch. "If I sleep, you will stay?" "Always," he murmured. The ritual flared, reacting instantly to her acceptance. The symbols around them ignited in bright spirals, rising like stardust pillars. The energy that had fought against her moments before now embraced her, flowing smoothly into every thread of her being. Her breathing slowed, deepened. Her glow softened into a gentle, peaceful radiance. The queen, watching with misted eyes, whispered, "The bond is complete. The human has become her anchor, her calm, her chosen harmony." Illyra exhaled slowly, and for the first time during the ritual, her expression held no fear, only trust, pure absolute trust. The final stage of the alignment required stillness. Total, uninterrupted stillness. Illyra lay upon the moon cushion placed in the center of the sanctum. Her aura dimmed, not from weakness but in preparation for deep sleep descent, a sacred state even the council rarely witnessed. Eamon sat beside her as he had from the beginning, but now he held her hand with calm certainty. Around them, the sanctum darkened until only the faintest starlight remained, a soft silver glow that swirled above her chest like a breath of the universe itself. Illyra's eyelids fluttered. Her glow pulsed once, twice, then stabilized into a slow rhythm. She was so close, closer than she had ever been. Yet as the darkness deepened, a small flicker of fear trembled through her aura. She whispered faintly, "Eamon, are you still here?" He leaned closer, bringing their foreheads gently together, an intimate gesture bridging two worlds. "I'm here," he whispered. "You're safe." Her fingers curled weakly around his. "Will you stay even when my light fades into dreams?" "Yes, I'll stay until you wake." And after, her eyes softened, her aura settled. The last trace of tension left her body. The chamber fell silent, deep cosmic silence. Then Illyra exhaled one final steady breath, and her entire being relaxed. Her glow dimmed into a peaceful moonlit silver. Her breathing became soft and rhythmic. Her light core aligned perfectly. After 74 nights of storms, fear, and exhaustion, the princess finally fell into perfect healing sleep. The palace, sensing the transformation, brightened with gentle radiance. The healers bowed their heads. The queen closed her shimmering eyes in relief. And at the center of it all, Aemon remained seated, still holding her hand, watching over her with the quiet devotion that had carried her here. Hours passed. Then quietly, gently, Illyra stirred. Her glow brightened in a slow, steady wave, like dawn rising after a long, starless night. Her eyelashes fluttered open, revealing eyes clearer and more radiant than ever, filled not with exhaustion but with renewed life. She looked around, confused for a moment. Then her gaze found Aemon, still sitting beside her, head nodding slightly in fatigue but still firmly holding her hand. The instant she saw him, her glow warmed, blooming like sunrise through crystal. Aemon! Her voice echoed in his mind, soft and rested for the first time. He opened his eyes and smiled, a tired, relieved smile. Welcome back. She sat up slowly, feeling strength in her veins like flowing starlight. Her aura shimmered brightly, brighter than the day he first saw her. The healers gasped as their readings soared to perfect balance. Her core harmonized to flawless alignment, but Illyra was focused only on him. She lifted his hand gently to her chest, letting him feel her steady, peaceful heartbeat of light. I slept. Because you stayed. Aemon shook his head. You slept because you found your strength again. She smiled, a warm, luminous smile that felt like galaxies unfolding. Then you reminded me of it. The queen approached, tears of shimmering starlight in her eyes. My daughter is restored, the prophecy fulfilled, and it was a human heart that saved her. Aemon stood awkwardly, unsure how to respond to such honor. But Illyra reached for him again, intertwining her fingers with his. Not saved, she corrected softly. Shared, she stepped closer. You are my calm, my anchor, and my friend. Aemon felt warmth bloom in his chest, something deep, quiet and beautiful. And you, he said softly, are the brightest thing I've ever seen. The palace lights lifted around them, swirling in gentle celebration. Illyra leaned against him, peaceful and glowing. And together, beneath the vast galaxy outside, they stood side by side. A human man and an alien princess bound not by fate, but by trust, tenderness, and the kind of quiet connection that makes even the universe feel less lonely.